Hello, and welcome to Totally Schway Flipside, a podcast about whatever the hell I want it to be about. My name's Mary,
And my name is Luke.
and today we're talking about TV music that changed Mary's life.
Yeah, you've added that little asterisk there, haven't you?
Yeah.
Because you asked me, what TV music has changed your life? And little spoiler here, none.
Well, I would say that's different, considering you have an entire channel dedicated to BTAS, and there was a time where you would only listen to BTAS soundtrack.
Hasn't changed my life, though. It's not the soundtrack that did it.
No. You know who changed my life?
Me.
Yeah. I was going to say that.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to do this a little bit different because I was writing the notes last night for the podcast, and I was like, I can't just say like 3 shows. There has to be like a few different categories. So I've written mine down, and I've also written the categories down, and I'm going to ask Luke to put a show or multiple shows in each category.
Okay.
And
I don't know what any of these questions or categories are, so we're going to do this blind. So if there's a lot of me going and ah, then I'll probably have to edit that out.
So I think I know what his answer for the first one is.
Okay.
Best soundtrack on a TV show. Shall I give you mine first?
Yeah, go.
So I've got 3 in most of these, but the 3 that I can think of at the moment where it's like the soundtracks that I still have on my playlist today are Nip Tuck, the US version of Queer as Folk, and 6 Feet Under. 6 Feet Under, I didn't realize until I think last night that a lot of the music that I listened to, and specifically around the time that 6 Feet Under was on, was because of this show. Because at the end of each episode, there's usually like different songs of whatever and all of that. So I liked most of those.
So you're referring to a mixture of original music and also licensed music?
Yeah.
Okay.
In some of the categories, it is just the show that was made specifically for the show.
Yeah. So I would say, for instance, the music of Batman the Animated Series is amazing, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
But that was all composed for the show. There's no licensed stuff. I'm trying to actually think of anything.
That's what I thought you were going to pick.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of anything that I've watched where I've gone, wow, that selection of licensed music was wonderful. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Like the closest thing I can think of is I quite like wrestling entrance songs.
That's the other thing I thought you were going to say.
So yeah, so I quite like. So I don't really watch wrestling anymore. I don't really watch anything anymore. I'm too bloody busy. But I kind of keep a casual eye on stuff. But I used to watch wrestling a lot in the early 2000s, and I think my favorite entrance song was Kane's.
Oh,
it was Slow Chemical.
Oh,
which
yeah.
which was written for the the WWE because it uses the original Kane theme, but they've turned it into like a new metal song.
I love that song.
Yeah, I love it.
Like Finger 11?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And they put it on the Punisher soundtrack as well, which is always kind of weird hearing like Kane's theme tune. But anyway.
Which Punisher?
The Tom Jane Punisher, what was that, 2003, 2004, something like that? 2005?
Yeah.
In that early 2000s era, with John Travolta as well.
So yeah, the wrestling thing, I think, is a lot of people around that time. I didn't watch wrestling. Some of my family members did, but I didn't. But you know that a lot of the like rock music, especially from that era, came from a lot of the stars of those shows.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was kind of like a reciprocal relationship. So the wrestling companies would go to these fairly well-known musicians and say, right, we've got a song we'd like you to perform. We'll play it every week on TV, or we'll play it on one of our pay-per-views. We'll promote it. That increases your visibility. So yeah, it's kind of a win-win situation. Yeah. But they do that less now. They've got more of their like internal music teams doing songs for people. The last one I can think of that really like was like an earworm, like stuck in my head. Was
Money.
close, very close. No, it was Bobby Roode was in Beer Money, but it was his song "Glorious," which is completely out there. It's like this orchestral chorus singing "Glorious." Da
Oh,
da 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 da, and I'll do all I must.
I think I've heard you watch that or
Yeah,
something.
I thought that was it just stuck in my head. It's very
Yeah.
catchy.
But things like that, they do stick in your head because,
Yeah, they're designed to.
yeah, they're designed to. It's good marketing, but also that just means that the people that made that music were doing their job.
Exactly, exactly.
And that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that is the first one. So
Okay,
let's
good.
get to the second little section. Kind of drove me insane.
Music that kind of drove me insane. Um,
You know which
go your one first.
no, you go yours because I think you might have
We
another
might have the same one. So the entrance music,
Oh
Jesus
God,
Christ.
please.
The title sequence music for pretty much any HBO show where the title sequence is literally like 10 minutes long. Like The Wire, you've got that written on your list. Oh my God. If I ever hear that song again, I'm going to murder someone.
Although I thought you were gonna say my second one.
What, Game of Thrones?
Oh God,
That's another one.
I've blacked that
Obnoxiously
one out.
long title sequences drive me mad. I love the recent trend, particularly like that Penguin did this really well, where the title
In
sequence
Grey's
is
Anatomy.
yeah, it's like 5 seconds.
Mhm.
5 seconds. That's all you need. I know what the program is. I chose to watch it on my streaming platform. I don't need a title sequence to tell me what the show is and where it's set and everyone that's in it. I mean, I know these older shows were made in a different era before streaming, but Jesus Christ. The Wire and Game of Thrones title sequences are obnoxiously long, and
Wasn't it like 5 minutes? No, it couldn't have
it's
been
like
5 minutes.
2 or 3 minutes.
But yeah.
But even then, it's like Jesus Christ. Okay, I know you want to credit people, and that's I'm fully behind that.
Yeah.
But put it in the credits at the end. Don't waste my time with this repetitive title sequence. How much money did they spend on those as well?
Well, they only had to do it one time, didn't they?
No, well they didn't because with The Wire they had a different version of the same song each season.
Oh, I didn't even pay attention.
Yeah. So, and like there's a novelty of it happening in the first episode of each new season. Going, oh yeah, they've done a different take on that
Like
song.
The Walking Dead, it's a little different each time.
Yes, but that was another one where the title sequence was too long.
Loved that show though.
Oh yeah, it kind of fizzled out a bit, didn't it?
Yeah.
But it was very good for its time.
So I've got two more. One
Go
of
for
which
it.
is kind of a joke, but the second one, oh,
DuckTales.
I hate that so much. I didn't really watch DuckTales as a kid. Only when I think when I was at my aunt's house and it was like really early in the morning. But oh my gosh, I just once it's in my head, I can't get it out of my head and it drives me nuts. It really does. It's kind of like I mean this one over my next one. It drives me nuts in a I'm not okay with this type of way.
Mhm.
Whereas my name is Cleveland Brown.
Oh, God. Yeah.
I love that one.
Yeah.
But that drives me nuts in a funny way. Whereas the DuckTales one, I'm not saying anything about the show, but oh my God, whoever wrote that song needs a raise.
Yes. Yeah, I suppose that's the purpose of these title songs, isn't it? It's to again be memorable so people recognize it, so it sticks in your head and you think, "Oh, life is like a hurricane. I'm going to go watch some DuckTales."
Yeah, when did that come out?
Late 80s, I think,
Yeah.
maybe early 90s.
It is so 80s and 90s that it hurts.
Yes. Yes, it
But
absolutely is.
that would just I feel like I could write a horror movie of that. It's just that driving me insane of like somebody whispering ooh, and then that would be what I would be running away from.
Yeah.
And I'd open the door and it's woo.
I'm trying to think of any other shows like that just when I hear the title music, I just want to turn the show off. I don't know. I don't mind like catchy tunes. It's just when they're excessively long. That's what I don't like. And
The Cleveland show one isn't. It's kind of like the perfect length for me to remember the lyrics of the song, because usually for stuff like that, I just skip it.
Hmm.
Whereas this, I was washing my hands the other day, and then all of a sudden I was like, na 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 na, even a bear.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard you actually. It's like, yep. So I don't know if you've mentioned this to people, but you like to put shows on when you're going to sleep, don't you? And you
Yeah,
leave them playing for hours after you're asleep. And the Cleveland show is what you've been watching recently.
yeah,
Or I should say, you've been sleeping and I've been watching it, just laying there. And I want to go to sleep too, but I can't
yeah.
because there's noise.
I have never been a good sleeper, so I take like the UK's version of Tylenol PM to sleep, but I also can't sleep when it's completely silent. I'm one of those people that my brain would completely take over, and I need something to babysit it while it sleeps.
Hmm.
And that I think a lot of people are like that, especially millennials and stuff like that, and Gen Xers. They have I don't know if it's because TV was so accessible to us,
Mm.
or what, or we're just really we're just really odd.
No, I mean, I think you're onto something
Yeah.
there. I think it's the fact that TVs became much more affordable in the 80s and early 90s. So a lot of kids grew up with TVs in their room and they'd turn a show on at night and then they'd fall asleep and forget to turn the TV off. And
Yeah,
they just became accustomed to it.
yeah. Although I did dream of the video game I've been playing last night instead of the show.
Mm.
But we'll probably talk about that in
Uh,
another episode of the of the flip side one
mhm.
day. So the next topic, best theme song. See, this is different than the soundtrack
Mhm.
or the drives me insane.
So theme songs that I like are relatively short and not too repetitive. I'm going to go a bit left field though. I'm going to say Red Dwarf. If anyone has watched Red Dwarf, a lot of people listening probably have no idea what that show is.
Lyrical, or
No,
I
well,
didn't think
the
so.
closing credits song was, but the opening one wasn't. It's just like a rock song,
Mm,
or at least the first couple of seasons of Red Dwarf, it was just very short instrumental, but then they did kind of like a rocked up version of it for the later seasons. But Red Dwarf is a show about set in the far future. The last man alive in the universe is on a spaceship floating out in space uh, with no purpose in life, and he is accompanied by a hologram of his dead roommate who he hated, a neurotic cleaning robot or a butler robot, I suppose you might call him.
and cat.
Yes, and a humanoid cat that evolved from one of his pet cats from millennia ago. And it's literally just about their adventures going through the universe. There's a lot more to it than that, but it's a
Yeah, there's
comedy.
definitely a lot more to
It's
it.
a comedy, and it's kind of crass in places, but I really like it. It's very funny. If
It's
you've never
very
seen it,
English, very English.
yeah, if you've never seen it, try and check it out. Just remember that, as I briefly mentioned, the first two seasons are slightly different in that it's more like a sitcom with like a running story across the two seasons. But the later seasons are all pretty much one and done episodes for the
Mm.
most part.
Which the UK does that a lot, and I quite like that because you can have a show that was on in, uh, for instance, 2003,
Mhm.
but then in 2023 you can just continue the series, and it's just because it's 20 years later. This isn't what happened with Red Dwarf, but it's kind of similar.
I mean, something like that did
Um,
happen. Yeah.
but 20 years later, you can just go on with another story with the same people, and it's the same world and everything. Well, world, that's a bad example, but
Well, yeah, same universe.
yeah,
Yeah.
same
But
universe.
it's a BBC show, so for Americans, the BBC's the I don't know what an American equivalent would be, but it's the publicly funded television channel. Over here, we all pay a TV license that funds all the TV shows, and as such, they don't have commercials. They don't actually have to make anything that's commercially successful. They just make stuff because it's worthwhile, or someone believes it to be
Yeah,
worthwhile.
and they make a lot of one-off series
Yeah.
knowing that they're just going to be one-off series, or they'll make a TV show like Red Dwarf, for example, in early 2000. Even though this wasn't in early 2000,
They did do some.
did they?
They did do more episodes
Yeah.
in the early
So it was a
2000s.
90s show,
Yeah, I think it started in like 1988 or something like
Oh,
that.
so an 80-90 show, and then it continued to the early 2000s, and now it still has episodes occasionally come out now.
Yeah, and the thing is, as well, is they each season is only 6 episodes long because they only made episodes that they felt were worth making.
Yeah.
They weren't like signed to a contract where they had to make 65 episodes and then
Hmm.
just knock them out. They're just like, right, okay, well, we've got 6 episodes written, let's just do that, and then maybe we'll come back in a couple of years and do more if
Yeah.
people like it and if we feel enthusiastic about it.
Yeah.
And they've been, I think they've made, I want to say 11 seasons. I think they did a joke of skipping over season 9 and jumping straight to season 10. I can't remember what the joke was, but there was a joke about they referenced events that happened in this season that was never made. But yeah, the music I thought was really good.
Shall I go for mine?
Yeah, you should, because I've been talking for
Okay.
ages about Red Dwarf.
So I've got three. BTAS, obviously, because there is not an era in my life where I don't that I can't just listen to that and be completely chill and calm. I love that. And it reminds me of my brother and it reminds me of my husband. So two cool guys mixed with another cool guy and some great freaking music.
I don't know if there is anyone our age that won't be able to immediately have like the police blimp come to mind when they hear that at the
Yeah.
start, and that you just hear you see the Warner Brothers shield turn into the police blimp. You
Mhm.
just see it in your head.
It's just so beautifully done, and it starts out, it reminds me of like when you go to the symphony or something. It starts out a little slow,
Mm-hmm.
and then by the end it's like I'm not doing it in the thing, but
Bombastic is what I
yeah,
would say.
bombastic, but it gets there and it kind of tells a whole story within what, less than a minute.
Yeah.
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 All right, another one. Well, the first 4 seasons, anyway, of Grey's Anatomy, that theme tune forever will just remind me of uh, Grey's Anatomy and a time in my life where things were different in I had just started my adulthood when I started watching Grey's Anatomy because I started watching it a little later after it came out and I really liked that. So and then Queer as Folk. I cannot tell you how I felt the first time I watched that show, and I had heard bits and pieces of that song before, but the first time I heard it, and I re-listened to it again last night, and oh my God, what have you done today to make you feel proud? It's my real singing voice, but I just every time I listen to it, it puts an emotion that I cannot describe inside of me. And it's good, bad, and everything in between because you just think of the creators of this show and just everything to get to that show. I think every emotion gets to me because so many people went through so many different lives creating this TV show, and just that theme song is just chef's kiss.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that like it's not comic book and it's not like a regular TV show that we would normally talk about, but that show was just filled with amazing actors and it showed just how difficult life can be for queer people, but without being nasty about it,
Mm-hmm.
if you know what I mean.
I do.
Yeah. So yeah, I just thought I had to mention that because that just evokes something inside of me that I cannot explain.
So I've got a couple of other quick ones that
Oh
I want
yeah.
to mention. Um, so these are shows from my childhood that again they're gonna probably be alien to most people, but I just want to quickly shout out Trapdoor.
Oh, Trapdoor.
Trapdoor has got like one of the most 80s um, title songs, I guess.
Is it claymation that?
It is
Yeah,
claymation,
yeah.
yes. Yeah, it's a claymation cartoon about a little blue man called Burke who lives in a castle in the dark and nasty region where nobody goes. And he lives in like the basement of the castle, serving him upstairs, who is like this big, bulbous, multi-eyed monster that bellows orders from upstairs.
Mm.
But in the basement, they have a trapdoor, and monsters live under the castle and come up through that trapdoor. Monsters that him upstairs eats. So, like, Burke will try to get creatures from the trapdoor to create meals for him upstairs. But the song is just, it's astonishing. It's a real time capsule piece. If you want to think about like 80s Britain, then that's what comes to my mind. That and the other one I was going to mention, which is Count Duckula, which was some people may be familiar with the character Danger Mouse.
Danger Mouse, yeah.
Like the white mouse with the black eye patch.
Mm-hmm.
So Duckula was a spin-off of that because there was a Count Duckula in that who was a villain in Danger Mouse. When they did the show, it was a different Duckula because after Duckula is killed, he gets resurrected by his butler Igor, who is like this hunched-over old vulture. But he made a mistake when resurrecting Duckula this time. Instead of adding blood to the mixture to bring him back, the nanny handed him ketchup. So what happened is Duckula was resurrected, but he was a vegetarian vampire.
Yeah.
And he refuses to bite people. And he just eats vegetables. But everyone still thinks he's this horrific vampire monster and they're all trying to kill him. And he's just like, well, no one listen to me. I promise I'm not going to bite you. But that also had a tremendously 80s song. It's just synonymous with childhood for me, because these are the shows that I grew up watching. Super Ted as well. Super Ted had a wonderful title song. Super Ted, of course, being a play on Captain Marvel, or Shazam as people know him, where Billy Batson could say the word Shazam and turn into Captain Marvel, or Shazam as they call him now, which I still don't like. Well, actually, they've started calling him the Captain as well, which is also bad. But Super Ted was a discarded teddy bear that had a fault with it, and at the toy factory they detected the fault and chucked him in the rubbish. And he was rescued by a spotty man from outer space, who took him to Mother Nature, who gave him a special potion and taught him a secret magic word that he could say, and he would turn into a superhero. Very positive message there about, society viewed him as being defective, but really he's a hero. He's got a hero inside of him. I think I've mentioned this show before on this podcast. I'm sure I have. His nemesis, or nemesis, I suppose I should say, was Texas Pete, a cowboy with a massive chin, and his friends Bulk and Skeleton. Skeleton was a really camp, just skeleton, and Bulk was a big fat doofus guy. And that trio were always around, like trying to cause problems, committing robberies, kidnapping people, and Super Ted would foil their schemes and send them back to prison. But yeah, really just great music in those shows as well. You could tell that the people making them really cared about them. It wasn't just like a job, oh, we've been signed an order for 50 episodes, we've just got to just get it out the door.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a difference with British animation and British television, primarily because of the license fee.
Whereas a lot of American television from around that time was kind of Fit and Happy Meal.
Yes, yeah, there is an element of that. Yes, so when you
I love that, by the way, the can it fit in a Happy Meal type of thing. I'm not saying anything bad about that. I'm just saying that that's kind of how the 80s and 90s American shows kind of were a little bit.
Yeah, and that was kind of a difference as well between the UK made shows and the American shows. The American shows like He-Man and G.I. Joe were like very blunt in terms of their messaging, and they would have a section at the end like, here is the lesson you've learned today, kids. Whereas Trapdoor never really had a message. Duckula didn't really have a message. It was actually very quite sophisticated comedy in some parts. There's always a joke that sticks with me where they've got these like stereotypical French characters who speak in like weird English. Like one of them says, "How is it is that we are doing this," rather than saying why are we doing that?
Mhm.
How is that we are doing this?
Mhm.
Um,
So
you're just cutting me off. That's fine. I'll
oh,
stop.
sorry. I was just gonna say, should we get on to the next subject?
I guess so. I guess that's the shepherd's crook coming out, pulling me off stage, going, "Watch Super Dead, watch
No,
Dracula."
that's the thing. I was just thinking to myself that would actually make a great episode. Is just talking about a lot of the differences between American kids TV shows and English kids TV shows, and just talking about some of our favorites and why they're our favorites.
All of Trapdoor is on YouTube.
I think it is.
Yeah, it is. Play content. We've not heard from him in a while, but he did a video about Trapdoor. If I remember, I'll put a info button link in. I think he's done Super Ted video as well, but I'll link to them in the description. So anyone that's curious about it, I bet Lowell Lucas Jr. will be curious. Big Mikey P will be like, no multi-dimensional schoolgirls, no watch.
Whatever. Big Mikey P is like, I'm gonna watch this show and I'm gonna tell Mary what's in it because Mary is not gonna watch the show.
If you won't watch it, Mary, how can we expect them to?
So we should go to the next. No, I'm excited to see Big Mikey P's comment this time. So this next subject, I think I'm not sure if you're gonna have an answer to this because I was thinking about it last night when I was writing all of this down, and I was like, oh, I actually have an answer to this. Show closer. And what I mean by that is like the last episode of a TV show, and it's like not the season, the entire series. Do you want to go first or do you want me to go?
Well, I can tell you what I was going to say until you clarified that it was like the last episode ever. I was going to say the sad EastEnders music when a character leaves.
Oh, that
counts.
right. Yeah, that's all right.
So it's like a prolonged piano version of the EastEnders theme.
That's all right. Because EastEnders never going to end. So
well, it might do. You never know. Maybe one day it will.
Yeah, that's really once you start to hear, because I've only really heard it I think twice, maybe 3 times, but I think it was when Pat.
Oh, when they killed Pat. Oh,
she's the one that looked like my grandma, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God! Once you started hearing it, it was like, oh no, this is fine. I'm not gonna do it. And then all of a sudden it happens, and then it's just like you start to go. I'm not crying, man. I'm just coughing. I'm not crying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That is a good one.
So mine is, I'm going to talk about 6 Feet Under again. I didn't realize how much this show really affected my life until recently. But there is a very significant the last few minutes of this show, Claire is going off and she's driving down, and I believe it's a Toyota, and Sia, Breathe Me, starts to, I have to slow down with my words for a minute because I'm getting a bit
emotional.
I don't know. She's driving down, and then all of a sudden you start to see each family member and when they pass, but you see their life. And that song for me it touches me in a way that I don't think I'll ever talk about on this podcast. But it's so beautiful, and when I watched that for the first time, I just was like, I can't wait to be able to have a moment like that in my life. And then I did have a moment like that in my life where I went to the UK, and it just, every time I think about it, it hurts, but it's one of those things where you're like, life is so short, but everybody has a different story, and this is mine, but there's so much. You see that beginning and that end, but in this few minutes you got to see most of it.
Yeah, because when you described it to me, you said that everybody dies at the end of the episode, and I was like, that seems a bit overkill.
Yeah.
But you didn't clarify that you see like highlights from their lives. They don't all die at the same time.
No.
Was it Michael C. Hall's character who saw his dead husband?
Well, they all see someone they love.
Yeah. He saw his dead husband and was confused because he saw him as young. He went, huh? And then fell down dead. Yeah. And I thought that one stuck with me.
You saw confused. I saw happy.
Well, yeah, a little bit of both.
Yeah.
He's also like, what are you doing? How can you be here? Oh God, I'm dead. And then falls over.
Yeah. But I don't know. When I was younger, I'm not this type of person where I believe in this or that. I don't really believe in a lot of stuff after death, other than, you know, the scientific stuff. But when you think about this particular, you know, I'd say about 5 minutes, if that, you're like, I wish that would happen to me. Like if something bad were to happen to me and I just looked over and I saw like my grandpa, for example, um, I think in that moment I would be happy.
Mm.
Um, but I know it's not gonna happen, but
You
it,
never
it
know.
just it really changed the way I think about life and death at the same time. And I rewatched it when I first moved over here, and my grandmother had just passed, and it brought a whole new perspective when it came to that. And every time I watch it, it kind of changes me a little bit. And that song, oh my god, that song, I love it. But yeah,
Yeah.
let's go back to happier things. Okay, and the last one, nostalgic theme songs or
Oh,
theme
I
tunes.
mean, I've just kind of listed a whole bunch of them
Yeah.
already. I'm going to say Trapdoor. I loved Trapdoor
Yeah.
as a kid. It actually aired. I think it started airing before I was born, but they played it on TV all the
Mhm.
time up until I was about 5 or 6. And I made my dad get the VHS copies of it, so I used to watch it all the time.
Yeah.
Loved it. Little 5 minute chunks, of which about 2 minutes of it was the opening title sequence and then the credits at the end. But chef's kiss.
Do you know what my first one is?
Go ahead, tell me.
I Love Lucy.
Yeah, I should have known.
I don't. Have I mentioned that on any of the podcasts before?
I think you have.
I Love Lucy is my all-time favorite TV show. If anybody cared,
Mm.
MASH,
Mm.
and X-Men the animated series.
Yeah, that's another good one.
It's those things like I sometimes will be. I don't like unless I'm alone. When I'm alone, I don't mind quiet, but when I'm around people or just around anything, I like to have some sort of sound. Sometimes when I'm alone and I'm walking through the flat and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go get a Diet Coke. Before I open my fridge, I start to hear the MASH theme tune in my head, and I'm like, oh,
Mm.
I I don't have my camouflage sheet, so or with I Love Lucy, a lot of like happier times in my life. I just for some reason it's so odd. Like all of a sudden I'll be staring at anything that's just making me happy and I just hear the tune and I see Desi and Lucy dancing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, X-Men. That's a good shout. I can't believe I
Yeah.
forgot that one.
How could
Um,
you forget?
I know. How could I
That's why
forget?
I left the best for last.
Yeah, yeah. Previously on X-Men.
Yeah.
That's how you have to say it.
Honestly, I can't do it.
Previously on X-Men. You have to speak without moving your mouth as much as possible. So maybe they couldn't hear. I'm going to do it again. Previously on X-Men.
Previously, honestly, I can't do it. That's like me not speaking in a an Oklahoma Valley girl accent. So that's it. I thought it was a little fun doing it a little bit different, and I think we'll do that again soon. And I think we should talk about some of our old favorite TV shows like that, just as a like little conversation or something.
Yeah, yeah.
That'd be great because you've got a lot of insight on obviously English TV, but you were also part of the millennials where
Yeah.
a lot of the American TV shows were readily available to buy over here and also to watch
Yes.
because that wasn't always the case. Any last words about theme tunes?
About theme tunes specifically. Okay. Made it sound quite sinister then. Any last words?
I can't. I'm sure there's hundreds of them we could all
Oh,
play.
yeah. There's absolutely loads. There's going to be something.
Tell me y'all's favorites because I know. Oh, I can't believe I didn't put Fresh Prince in the drives me insane.
Oh, God. Yeah. Yeah.
Not that again. That doesn't have to mean the only one that was bad was Ducktales.
Hmm.
Not the TV show itself, just the theme tune.
Because it was overplayed.
Oh my gosh, I was Philadelphia, born and raised.
Yeah, that's enough. Thank you.
I'll be washing my hair sometimes, and I'll be listening like Chevelle or something in the bathtub, and all of a sudden I'm like, got one little fart. My mom got scared. It's like, oh, should we get to 50?
Yes.
I meant to say, should we get to some comments?
Let's do it. So up first we have Lowell Lucas Jr. who says happy holidays today. It's totally Schway. Merry Christmas to all. So join us on this bat sleigh. Ebenezer's gonna pay.
I love, by the way, lol, I loved every single theme tune you made me. Every little jingle you made for me and Luke and I, for our advent calendar. And I loved it so much. Thank you. And they were all really so good. Like, I would have been able to come up with things like that.
All right, so to continue the comment is happiest of holidays, everyone. I first want to rant. Damn you, YouTube algorithm. You didn't inform me again about Mary's video. So I caught you this time. Next, you'll be visited by 3 long paragraphs that will share random tidbits one after another. Read them, clear your throats, and prepare for the long groan on pronouncing weird names. Excellent section with Scrooged. Great movie despite how Bill Murray treated Gina Davis. Also, executives aren't outdated. Look at people like David Zaslav, who's been cancelling and deleting a lot of Warner Brothers projects for tax purposes, such as the Batgirl movie and even Wile E. Coyote's movie, where he finally sues Acme. Yeah, I meant more like television network executives determining what the TV schedule. That's kind of outdated. But yeah, you're right. There are still other types of executives. Addams Family can be considered a Christmas movie so long as you enjoy it during the holidays. Raul Julia will be missed as his energy was quite infectious. I've had myself yelling out, Musha, when in the presence of my special lady. Which, yeah, I enjoy swooning and kisses just like Morticia. Also, sad you both didn't enjoy Nightmare Before Christmas, but it's okay, it's not for everyone. There's certain productions of Tim Burton's I appreciate but do not enjoy. Sorry, no Alice or Dumbo for me. Though the dude does do great with snow. Look at Edward Scissorhands as an untraditional Christmas movie. Yeah, I can't believe we didn't mention that one.
Oh my gosh, that's one of my favorites, isn't it? I love Edward Scissorhands. I will, now that you've mentioned that, I'll probably end up watching that in the next day or two.
I thought I mentioned it recently.
I can't remember.
You just weren't listening.
No.
Ah, Barbie tree. Please take a picture or short video of them before the cat Gilly violates it like he did those targeted chords. Also, want to thank you both for the wonderful video on holiday nights. It's a wonderful Christmas episode and absolutely love Ivy and Harley's shopping montage. It's incredibly cute and very sexy. Bruce couldn't totally afford their gifts. So I hope you let them keep them. Both of you and everyone, happy holidays, no matter if you spend it with friends, family, occasional Arkham inmates like me. Someone's got to give Ivy and Harley some company. May you all enjoy and cherish your time together.
You too.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You guys have made this holiday season so special. And I say that, and it's as if I'm saying it to someone in front of me, because that's what I feel about you guys, is that you're my friends. And this has truly been one of the best holiday seasons I've ever had.
Mm-hmm. So next we have the latest tome from Michael Andre Parlon, Big Mikey P, who says, Home Alone 1 and 2, truer classics they are, and the latter is one rehashed plot concept done surprisingly right. Die Hard 1, Lethal Weapon, yes really. Tokyo Godfathers, prefer it sub, despite being a dub person myself. Being a dub person?
Dubstep?
No, dub as in he likes having stuff dubbed with different voice actors.
So you're saying dubstep? I mean, like, dubstep's kind of cool.
This is blasphemy. This is blasphemy. Anyway, Love Actually, bonus if one's a Phineas and Ferb Adventure Time and Mr. Bean Blackadder fan because of some familiar actors. A Christmas Story, It's a Wonderful Life, what DCAU Dick Grayson was correct about it. That Christmas Carol adaptation featuring Scrooge McDuck, even if it's more a short film. Edward Scissorhands, what? It feels Christmassy, and I picked it over the obvious A Nightmare Before Christmas. The Ice Age trilogy, again, not Christmassy, but it has the right seeming wholesomeness.
The first Ice Age is great.
Those are the Christmas films I adore and cherish in their own, even if a select number aren't actually fond favourites. Apologies if I missed some true Christmas flicks. I'm a bit tired to try remembering. Who even watches half a movie one year and then the next half the following year? Depends. If you start watching it on the 31st of December and then pick up again in January the 1st, then maybe that's quite common. I don't think Scrooge is dated. Rather, it has a bunch of value resonance for modern audiences. When in doubt, before letting the family and some kids watch something, watch it yourself solo and see to the finish. Take notes. Me, don't let toddlers watch Night on the Galactic Railroad. Don't let them watch You Are Umasu, Hart, and Yumi in supervision. Won't lie, the Addams Family duology does feel surprisingly Christmassy despite not being that in actuality. Can't stop anyone if they love rewatching them on the Yuletide season. Romancing the Stone, might want to check that film out in case it has aged well, a la The Mummy 1999. I don't remember it. From what I remember, I should say, I don't think it will age very well.
But Romancing the Stone.
Yeah, I don't think it has. I think it's a bit dated.
There's a second one.
Yes, there was. If there's a Tim Burton film that's surprisingly hard to rewatch, that's Frankenweenie. If there's a Tim Burton that's surprisingly more relevant after every rewatch, there's Big Fish, and no, that film ain't a Forrest Gump ripoff, despite initial reactions. If anything, it's like comparing Shoujo Kageki Review Starlight to Revolutionary Girl Utena, and especially Puella Magi Madoka Magica. See, I'm starting to recognize some of these names. Or comparing the Swiss Family Robinson and Robinson Crusoe to the show Gilligan's Island and the movie Cast Away. Funnily enough, I think I remember some people thinking that Batman Returns Catwoman is quite an unrelatable character with her experiences in mind. No, curious kitty croaks the Christmas lights, and satisfaction shall not bring them back. Very true, he did. 2739, I think it was also the very first BTS episode I ever watched too, not surprising how many fans may say the same. 30 minutes. Those states shall someday pay oh so hard. Probably said this before, but can easily recommend Fallout with the Fix-It mod, Fallout 2 with Collapse mod, Restoration Project, and Fallout New Vegas Ultimate Edition. The rest is either optional or skippable, though Tactics and 3 lean on the former. 3156. However, to me, flawed folk like H.P. Lovecraft are surprisingly exempt and are easy to separate from their art. Heck, it's also worth looking up their fascinating lives even. To quote TV tropes on My So-Called Life, like Ricky, Wilson Cruz was disowned by his family when he came out as gay. However, according to the DVD commentary after the episode So-Called Angel Dares, Cruz's family reached out to him and they reconciled. Do we have to watch it? Yeah. Can sympathise with Luke when it comes to stuff like Smallville. Reminds me of tiresome demands from some otherwise good people wanting me to watch, counts with fingers, Naruto, One Piece, Arrow, Spider-Man, the new animated series, Ned, Ed, and Eddie. The Mr. Bean Christmas special. Oh, yes, the one with the turkey head, the cut down and purloined Christmas tree, and the awesome take on Three Wise Men, Army Men, Daleks, and Evil T-Rex, and helicopter-born angel visiting baby Christ in his manger. 3917. Actually, I can be able to watch them all if they're actually finished, and I have the time and resources. Assuming they don't have missing episodes, lost audio stuff, and collector's item novelizations. Looking at you, Doctor Who. 4019 was referring to the British show where a male character thinks he's Mother Mary. That's Bottom. Puppets aren't too bad. Faceless ghosts, on the other hand. Mary has a point on Star Wars. Also, there's the inevitability on which material to treat as part of the personal headcanon and which absolutely shouldn't. Like being James Gunn only putting his Task Force X film and Peacemaker Season 1 from the book DCEU to the hopefully more successful DCU. I doubt Brave New World will be as Schway as the first Avenger and the Winter Soldier, though. If anything, it'll succumb to the pratfalls that made me not like Kingsman, The Golden Circle, and Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus much. Can agree, Married with Children annoys me too, but also because it ends up being way too relatable for its own good, not because it's terror-bad. Kind of brings to mind why I love war films like Independence Day, The Battle of Britain, Where Eagles Dare, and Saving Private Ryan, but end up flinching when the otherwise excellent Black Hawk Down, A Bridge Too Far, and Vietnam films like Platoon and Hamburger Hill are around. Music that changed our lives, if not left them satisfied. Ooh, Criff. Anime's won lots on my matter then and now. Here, especially with the periodical YouTube music recaps in mind. Sorry, not sorry, Shirley Walker and John Williams. Well, thank you, Big Monkey P, for your comment.
Thank you very much. And if you would like to write a book with me, I will officially start reading my emails again every day on
It's the 6th of January.
6th of January. And this year, that is one of my goals, is to check my personal email every day.
Yes, and just a quick note, Doc Widener, we did receive your emails.
Yes, we did.
I forwarded them to Mary as soon as I got them, and just waiting on her to reply.
I thought we were going to do it on the show.
No.
Oh. Well, then I'll do it. I'll do it now after I do this post.
Yeah, after we finish the recording. So next we have David Carney, who says, "Hi Mary and Luke, I really enjoy National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation as well as Home Alone, which has a lot of theories on Reddit. I really like Scrooge. No matter what people say, Batman Returns and Die Hard are Christmas films. Have a wonderful Christmas, both of you." Yes, I completely agree. I mean, they're set during Christmas. They take place over Christmas. Christmas is referenced multiple times. Ergo, Christmas movies. The Phantasm says, "All right, the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special was awesome. Forgot about that. Definitely going to rewatch it. Thanks for reminding me." You're welcome. I'm glad someone else reminded us of it as well, because we completely forgot about it, as we said at the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Doc Widener, we're on to him next, who says, "Thank goodness you're here. I have not seen Red One. I may try it and let you know." Yeah, it's on Prime now. Mary and I started rewatching it on Christmas Day, didn't we? But we got about halfway through before you lost interest.
Yeah, because we watched a movie before that wasn't that great, and I was just kind of fed up.
Yeah.
But Red One is I love that movie.
Continuing Doc Widener's comment, it says, "I absolutely love Scrooge. Saw it with a girl with striking blue eyes named Retha Costello. That ended up not working out, but it's still a great film." Bill Murray's character is named Frank Cross. The border on the wall of his office says Cross N, a thing they mail people to. Bobcat is on a news quiz show on National Public Radio from time to time without the voice. That cast is so great. I wrote this section when I paused the video before Mary looked at IMDb. Karen Allen, who I had a crush on from Raiders and Animal House. Alfie Woodward as his long-suffering assistant. Grace, who Mary knows, verified as the fantastic Luke Cage villain from the Netflix series. Mariah Fillard. David Johansen as the Ghost of Christmas Past and the voice of Ding Dong Daddy from an episode of Teen Titans. John Glover, the B-Test Riddler and Lex Luthor's dad in Smallville, and on and on and on. Yes, I had more to add. Christmas Vacation, haven't seen it in years, probably should watch it again. The Addams Family had a Thanksgiving release here in the States, which also is why it always had a bit of a holiday feel. It's kind of like, for me, the first Harry Potter film. Too much tape and wrapping paper in Nightmare Before Christmas for Luke. The wild sled montage traumatized Luke. Oh no, all that tape. As for Batman Returns, like Die Hard and Lethal Weapon, they had a summer release, but they were clearly Christmas movies. I am the opposite of Mary. I am a completionist. I had a friend in college who managed a second-run theatre. I would swing in to be a secret customer to check that folks were trying to upsell. "You can get a large soda for X cents more. Would you like a large?" He had a showing of a movie that went straight to second run before straight to DVD or straight to streaming was a thing. It was called The Unseatable? Unseatable? I think that might be a typo there. Shecky Moskowitz. Maybe it's Unshakable. Not certain. With a very young, perhaps pre-Saturday Night Live Adam Sandler. Only a handful of people watched it for my showing, and I was the only person who did not leave and ask for my money back. It was awful, but so awful it was kind of fun. I believe they rebranded it Babes at Sea. In that Christmas Story vein, on Netflix a couple of years ago, they had a Neil Patrick Harris film called 8-Bit Christmas. Replace the Red Ryder BB gun with a Nez and you get the general idea. It was worth a watch. Has that Chris Columbus, John Candy, Greater Chicago area vibe. If you are looking for an interesting film analysis, look for Steve Shives talking about Miracle on 34th. There are several versions out there, and there are some interesting differences in them. The Real Ghostbusters Christmas Carol episode Big Mikey P mentioned was great. It's worth trying to track down. Very clever take on the story. When you take a vacation, Big Mikey P and I will fill in to do the LucasArts X-Wing TIE Fighter episode. Yeah, maybe you should.
That would be great. Oh my gosh, could you imagine if they did that? Like if you were on vacation once and then like I had to do the podcast and they would just call in and I'd be like, "Explain these things to me." And then I would just be there writing notes while they were talking.
Mhm.
I would love that.
There's an idea. It's kind of similar to something Jump on the Batwagon did, the Watchtower Databases podcast. I'm sure all of you listening to this have probably heard of it. I think it was their April Fool's episode. They had two of their regular commenters just record an episode and talk to each other instead, which I thought was very funny. Next we have Harry Flew TV, who says, "I think my favourite Christmas movies are Jim Carrey's The Grinch and Batman Returns. Also, the television music I always think about are the Danny Elfman Spider-Man score and the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films, James Horner's The Amazing Spider-Man 1 score, and Batman's theme in BTAS. I always find myself singing them to myself. Even Batman's Forever main score is underrated as hell. Yeah. Do 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 do. Mary's shaking her head in agreement. Moving on. We have Ryan Jones who says, "Hi, I'm doing good, Luke, now for my favourite Christmas movie list. Elf, the best Christmas movie. Home Alone 1 and 2. The Muppets Christmas Carol. A Flintstones Christmas Carol. A Very Muppet Christmas. Mickey's Magical Christmas. Snowed at the House of Mouse. The Santa Claus movies. The animated Grinch movies. And finally, Winnie the Pooh. A Very Merry Pooh Year." Have to be very careful how you pronounce that, otherwise it sounds a bit weird. I hope you're having a good Christmas. About the red one, I have no interest in watching it because it is absolutely ridiculous of it when I watch the trailers. It's funny coming from me because I love Totally Spies and that show. There's a lot of wacky ideas and moments in it, but I love it for the creative decisions, and its wacky ideas are good, mostly, and that you can relate to it at least one thing about the girls. But if you like Red One, Mary, that's fine. I do respect that you don't always have the most popular opinion when it comes to movies, shows, and video games, even if you don't always agree with your opinions.
That's okay. I haven't told you guys another one of my favorite movies, so when that happens, no one will listen anymore.
Luke, Mary, and a colleague from when I was volunteering at a dog rescue centre are the only people that I know that have an Apple TV account. Mary, I do agree on that. I don't like Nightmare Before Christmas. I hate it's more of a Halloween movie than anything else, and I'm glad that I'm not alone in this opinion, but that doesn't mean that I hate Tim Burton. I like 1989 Batman movie and Batman Returns. Luke, why don't you like your wife to go to the garden centre to look at Christmas trees? I love doing that every year at Christmas. It's because I don't like being around people. Every time I'm out doing something that is what I view as unproductive, in the back of my mind, I've got a checklist of things that are building up that need to be done when I get back.
You're very much an introvert as well. I'm an introvert, but I feel like I need to go out and do things because I just need to go out and do things. But I have started to do things that I like rather than what I think other people like, because that's what Luke tells me.
Yeah.
Whereas I just make Luke do what I want.
Yeah, for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I take on too much, and it's only going to get worse from here on out, but it's going to be good in the long run, I'm certain of it. That's why I put the effort in. I've lost my place in the comment. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, we said something about Christmas trees at the garden centre. Yeah. I forgot to say in the last episode that Merry Madagascar, Real Ghostbusters Xmas Marks the Spot, 2 Disney VHS that are Disney Christmas cartoon compilations, and Father Christmas is on the list for Christmas specials and episodes. My grandparents used to watch NCIS when they were alive. Too, Mary. Also, how did they watch the Scarface episodes of Batman the Animated Series if you have a fear of puppets? The answer is she didn't.
I would look away most of the time.
In the last comment, it was supposed to say, because it gives me hope for humanity. Fun facts, Muppet Christmas Carol came out in 1992.
I have heard that is a great, because Kane is in that, isn't he?
Michael Caine.
Yeah.
Yes, I thought you meant the wrestler Kane. I was like, is he?
Is it C-A-N-E?
C-A-I-N-E.
Yeah. I've heard that was a really great movie. I could listen to it, maybe, but I think as soon as I would hear Gonzo's voice, I would go into a tailspin of dread, lack of sanity, and just Luke would find me in the fetal position in front of the front door just weeping.
As of writing this comment, it's Boxing Day, and I'm going to tell you my 3 favourite moments of 2024. Number 1, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, because Sonic is my favourite video game franchise, apart from Mario, and the movie was awesome. Number 2, Deadpool and Wolverine, because it's one of the funniest movies I've seen. And my favourite part is when Deadpool says to the camera, "Suck it, Fox, I'm going to Disneyland," because I do agree with him. And I like most MCU movies than some of the Fox movies, even though I didn't like Thor the Dark World. No, we didn't really care for that one much either, did we? Thor the Dark World, the second one?
No.
No, the thing that annoyed you, I think, was which way is Greenwich, and then they tell him the wrong way.
Yeah.
He's like, you can't get to Greenwich on the Northern Line.
That really bothered me, didn't it?
Yeah. Or was it the Bakerloo line? I forget.
No, but we were in the cinema, and that was really bothering me. And I think after we got out of the cinema, I watched the entire rest of the movie, and then I walked out, and I was a little annoyed by it.
He'd have to change at Charing Cross and then get an overground train to get to Greenwich. Ridiculous. the dark elves appearing over Greenwich and destroying much of London. Perfectly fine, completely plausible.
Fine.
That is not how the tube works. um, I would rather have the movie to watch. I'd rather have that movie to watch than the 2015 Fantastic Four movie, though. Uh, Tied at number 3, Inside Out 2 and Despicable Me 4. Inside Out 2 taught me that it's okay to have flaws, and the good and the bad makes you who you are. It's not a bad thing, and Despicable Me is one of the most fun I've ever had watching in the cinema. Mary, I'm sad that you have a fear of puppets, because if you don't like them, you probably won't love the Muppets like me. It's true, she doesn't love the Muppets.
No, there's this. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you which mall, but there is a an art dealer in the mall that's where I used to work, and it's right beside where I used to work, literally. And when I would come out of the mall to go inside of the mall, they had this Muppets exhibition, whatever it's
Yeah.
called. And I turned once, and then I literally, my watch told me my heart was beating too fast. That's how, like, it affected me, because I just was like, and there was nobody around because it was quite early in the morning, but I was just like, this is not happening right now. And I said that out loud. But I still had to, like, muster up the courage to go get my prescription and then come back to see it again.
Just kind of put your hand over your eyes,
That's
going, "Not
exactly
here."
what I did. I would turn. I'd put my bad eye that way.
Okay, so the last comment, a last minute addition, comes from ALML33Y, Julia Rowell, who says,
Yeah.
my favourite Christmas movie is Goodfellas. I kind of consider this movie a comedy. Home Alone 1 and 2, Reindeer Games with Ben Affleck, Gremlins. Oh, how did we not mention Gremlins?
Yeah.
Did we
The
mention
Goodfellas.
Gremlins?
I mentioned this the other day,
Yeah.
didn't I?
And Iron Man 3, because I really like the humour in that movie, and just seeing how Tony Stark, spends the holidays and also fighting Guy Pearce and Ben Kingsley. In the movie I like the most, about Ernest Saves Christmas, Nightmare Before Christmas, and the X-Men episode Have a Very Morlock Christmas. Yes, Mary and Luke, I do like things sometimes that bring me a lot of joy. Anyway, I hope you had a nice Christmas. I hope you got lots of presents. I do like the BTS collection of figures. I wish I had some figures, and I think there's a typo here. It says P-test figures. I wonder if it's B-test figures.
Well, the P-test figures, I could just tell you right now. I'm 100% that bitch. My dog is getting old, isn't it?
No, I knew you were going to say that, but it still made me smile. But I don't. I wish I could get some, which would be very nice, because I won't like what Livewire and Supergirl and Big Barda and maybe Harley Quinn, Hot Girl on Black Canary. I have a big list of figures that I really want to add to my collection. The complement my Marvel ones, which are like Silver Ridge Susan Reed from Fantastic Four, Daredevil in yellow costume, and Punisher from Light to Bronze Age, and Boom Boom from X-Force, and Iceman, and 90s characters. Yeah, I have a big collection of figures that I want to round out. Anyway, Merry Christmas, Mary and Luke, and Big Mikey P.
Oh, that's
It's
sweet.
just so long-winded. I almost want to call a big nerd sometimes when I hear these big old anime on reverse type stuff. Y'all be good.
You be good too. Oh, by the way, Merry Christmas to all of you guys. Belated Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah.
Yes, and at the time of recording, it's almost New Year, so
Yeah.
Happy New Year. 2024 has been an okay year for us, I think. There have been some downs, but it's mostly been ups.
I will say it has been not the best year of my life, but definitely not the worst. There have been some terrible things that have happened this year. I'm glad they're over, and I think that next year it is going to be so much better, because it's about me. Not as in, like, Luke's year is not about me, but I think next year, I don't do resolutions or anything like that, but I want I want to put myself into focus next year in terms of my health, happiness, and friendships. And sometimes I have realized that friendships don't have to be in person. And that is great, because once I realized that, I I've started to feel a lot better. So, health, friends,
Prosperity.
prosperity, and just overall looking out for myself, for you, and getting Luke out of the house more to do things that I like to do.
No.
Yeah. And I really want you guys to have a great year as well. And you know what? If it's not a great year next year, the one after that could be better, and so on and so forth. But what I'm not going to do is put an affirmation out there for you that seems like it is fake. And I hate those things where it's just so fake. Like every year is going to be a great year. Sometimes it's not, but we have to overcome those things. And luckily for me, I have you guys, but I also have like Luke and his mom, who's one of my best friends. Well, I see her as one of my best friends. And my other friends, and we can all get through this if we just work together. And I also wanted to mention, like, if you guys haven't heard from a friend in a really long time, just give them a bell, and make sure they're okay. That's what I wanted to end on, because sometimes just asking if they're okay is enough. And I love you guys. Again, Happy New Year, and you'll hear more from me.
Yeah. Next time, what are we talking about next time?
I wanted to talk about bit characters.
Okay. Bit characters. What our favourite bit characters across anything
Yeah,
and everything?
yeah.
That's a very broad subject.
Mainly TV shows.
Mainly TV shows. Okay.
Yeah. So we will talk to you guys, well, next week for Totally Schway.
Yeah.
All right. Love you guys.
Thank you. Bye bye.